Hi everyone, John Cottrell here, and this is Power Hour. This is a 60-minute power vinyasa yoga practice. So glad that you're here. Hello and welcome. So for our practice today, we are going to be doing a few things actually, but our main focus is going to be pigeon pose and some other deep lunges. All right, so pigeon pose and some other deep lunges, which I really like doing because they're hip openers. I really like doing hips, things to open up my hips because they tend to be tight. So we're going to be doing that together. And I've got a couple of other little postures in there that we'll be doing as well. So for your prompts today, I am going to encourage you to grab some yoga blocks if you happen to have them, a couple of blocks, something firm if you don't have yoga blocks. They could be a couple of hardbound books, hardback books, thick ones like dictionaries or something like that. And these will certainly come in handy for a couple of reasons, and I'll show you as we practice together. And I really think that's about it, unless you like to practice with other items like a strap or a blanket perhaps, or a towel. You may want to grab some bottled water and a hand towel just in case you sweat during your practice. That's always great too. And I think it is time to start. So I invite you to stand near the top of your mat. And your feet are about hip distance apart, toes pointing forward. We're going to take a few moments here in stillness as we establish a connection and start to take our journey inside. You can do this with your eyes opened if you'd like. Just gaze forward or even downward at the ground. Or close your eyes and take a nice, quiet journey inward. You might start with a few deep breaths just to establish a connection and reacquaintance with your breath. You can breathe in through your nose. You can exhale through your nose or out through your mouth if you'd like. And even feel free to just check in with your shoulders and neck. If it feels right to circle your shoulders, you can do so. You might roll them backward a few times and then forward. But we tend to hold a lot of tension in our necks and our upper backs and shoulders. Even a little movement with your head if you'd like. Maybe just ear to shoulder to one side and then the other. Very slowly, take your time with this. Only if this feels right for you. A little stretch for your neck. You might nod yes and no. And then just come back to stillness. Also be aware of your feet rooted into the ground, feeling balanced and centered. As you breathe in, you want to feel the lifting and lengthening of your spine as well as your breath rising to fill up your lungs. And exhale, draw your navel inward toward your spine, just creating a nice engagement here in your center body. Again, as you inhale, grow even taller, more length in your spine as you're able, as your breath rises to expand your lungs. As you exhale, you draw belly in, a light contraction of your abdominal muscles, and of course that's called the abdominal lock. Go ahead and take 3 more breaths in and out. Let's be ready to begin our half salute to the sun. When you're ready, inhale, extend your arms into the air. Take your time with this, just a nice reach and stretch. As you exhale, hinge at the hips, folding forward with a soft bend in your knees, slowly folding downward, maybe touching your toes. Inhale, slide your hands up to your shins or your knees to extend your spine. Maybe you'll come up to be parallel with the ground. Exhale, fold again. Let's hold here for a moment. Just as we took some time in standing to roll our shoulders and move our head and stretch the neck muscles, you can do a little movement here if you'd like. Maybe you'll sway left and right to get into your low back and hips. And if you happen to be hanging heavily forward, you can go back to loosening up your arms and shoulders, more circles if you'd like. And gentle movements of your head. Just imagine all that tension that's
bound up in your upper body, just rolling off of your body down onto the floor and away. Getting ready to come back up to standing first. Shift your weight back into your heels. Bend your knees. Let your hips lower as if you're sitting down into a chair. Look forward. This should extend your spine. Take your arms out to the side. Now we're ready. Inhale, press heels into the floor to straighten your legs. Standing up tall, reaching up into the sky. Big stretch. Then exhale, bring your arms down by your side, returning to mountain pose. Take a moment here. Just return to stillness. Take a breath in and out. We're going to do that same sequence one more time. Again, that's our half salute to the sun. Whenever you're ready, inhale, sweep your arms out and up. A big stretch. Reach for the ceiling, rear high. Exhale, fold forward, hinging at the hips with bent knees. Take your time, maybe touching the ground, but you never need to touch the ground for this. Inhale, slide your hands up the legs to extend your spine. You might even only be at an angle like this. Just extend and lengthen. Exhale, back down. Brief pause, release head, neck, and shoulders. Then shift weight back into your heels, bend your knees, look forward. Take your arms out to the side. Inhale, standing up tall. Get even taller as you reach up into the sky. Exhale, arms back down by your side. Once again, return to stillness. Deep breaths in and out, returning to this centered place. We're going to go ahead and continue with our full sun salutation, starting with Series A. Inhale, let's sweep the arms out and up. Exhale, fold forward. Take your time, make your way down. Inhale, let's rise up halfway or just extend the spine at a 45-degree angle. Exhale, bend the knees, round your back until you're low enough to bring your hands to the floor in front of your feet and step both of your feet back all the way back to the back end of your mat. And just draw a straight line through your whole body, your spine down through the legs. This is plank pose. Breathe in. Exhale, bend your knees slightly, then send your hips up into the air as you move into downward facing dog. An inverted position. You might need to adjust your feet on your mat, maybe even your hands. I like to take my hands slightly wider. That feels better for my shoulders. Keep the knees soft. That'll keep some mobility in your hips. You might even wag your tail. Then just feel as if your hips are being lifted into the air while your hands press deeply into the ground, just providing and creating a little bit more length through the whole torso. Feel this good energy in your shoulders as well. Now take a nice full breath in to fill up your lungs. Exhale completely, walk, step, or jump, both feet returning to the top of the mat in your hands. Inhale, extend spine. Exhale, fold, weights in the heels now, bend your knees. Inhale, reverse your swan dive, come back up to standing, reach up into the air. Exhale, arms down by your side. Now we're going to move right away into Series B. Here we go. Inhale, reach into the air. This is extended mountain pose. Exhale, swan dive or fold forward with bent knees. Inhale, rise up halfway or just extend the spine. Your crown might be pointing towards the floor. Exhale, bend knees. Round your back, hands to the floor, step back or hop both feet back, plank pose, strong straight line. Inhale. Exhale, bend elbows, squeeze them in towards your ribs as you lower your whole straight line of a body down towards the floor. Inhale, pull forward, then push into the floor with your hands, straightening your arms to look forward. Exhale, tuck your toes, lift your knees off the floor and lift your hips up into the air, downward facing dog. From here, inhale to extend your right leg up behind you. Reach with some energy to the back wall. Exhale, let's step this right foot up to the top of the mat or near your right hand. Turn the whole left leg to plant the left heel into the floor. Some good pressure in that back foot. Then extend your torso out over your right thigh. So your crown or the top of your head is pointing forward. Then inhale, hinge from hips, rising up to face forward. Reach your arms up into the air. Exhale, hinge at the hips to fold again. Bring your hands back down to the ground. Let's step the right foot back to meet the other. Once again, bend elbows. Lower your way down in a straight line. This is Chaturanga Dandasana. Pull forward. Push down into the ground with the hands. Straighten your arms. You'll be in a back bend. Your heart is forward. Look forward. Point your toes behind you. Exhale, tuck your toes now. Lifting knees, then hips into the air. Downward facing dog. Hips nice and high. Soft knees. Inhale, extend left leg up, reaching back energetically. Exhale to step through. Left foot to the top of the mat. Right heel turns to the floor. Good grounding and balance. Extend your torso out over the thigh. Hinge from hips as you inhale. Rise up, reach up. First warrior. Exhale, folding again, bringing your hands down to the ground. Step the left foot back, meeting the other. Bend the elbows, lower your way down, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. And exhale onto the toes, hips rising up. Downward facing. Hold for a couple breaths here. Settle into the posture. We're going to take a seat. You can just kneel down to take a seat in the center of your mat, or you might even hop forward, crossing your legs to take a seat. Again, be sure you're sitting in the center of your mat, and go ahead and roll down onto your back. Just going to move into bridge pose. Before we do so, just lie down comfortably. Nice long, flat back on the ground. Go ahead and bend your knees and just let your feet settle onto the ground. Take a few breaths here in this relaxed state of body. Now before we lift up into bridge, I'm going to add something here. Go ahead and take your feet a little wider. Okay, take your feet maybe out to the edges of your mat. They might even crawl a little bit off the mat so your legs are wide here. We're going to slowly take both knees and let them just kind of swing over towards the right side of the room, if that makes sense. The feet just kind of peel off the floor, knees just kind of drop to point towards the right side of the room. Now you're going to feel more sensation perhaps on your left side, just because of this inner rotation of this left leg. Just a little twist, gets into the hips and low back a little bit. Just creating a little bit more space here. 2 more breaths. We'll just call this windshield wiper. And we'll bring the knees back up, feet planted into the ground. Pause here for a moment as everything comes back to center. And then you'll slowly take the knees, dropping them down towards the left side of the room in this windshield wiper effort. And again, this will show up on the right side of the body as far as the sensation is concerned. Just a few breaths, just allowing this lengthening action to happen in your low back and hip area. 2 more breaths. And then we'll take the knees back up to center, pause right here. Go ahead and bring the feet a little bit together, just so they're a little bit more aligned with your hips perhaps. Now we're ready for our bridge. First, take a nice full breath in, fill up your lungs. Exhale, empty your belly. Feel your low back press down into the ground and then peel away from the ground, lifting your hips up into the air. To help lift and stabilize, you might want to bend your arms at 90 degrees. Press down into the floor with your triceps and elbows. Again, this might allow you to lift a little higher. It'll help you to hold the position a little longer. I want to rock left and right a little bit, just the upper body mostly, to get the shoulders a bit more underneath. And if you're able to do that, go ahead and join me. And then squeeze shoulder blades together. You're trying to engage your back muscles, especially the upper back muscles, for a little bit more support of the positioning. Lots of action in this posture. Feet rooted into the earth, which will activate your legs, thighs, hamstrings, and glutes. Hips lifting up with the assistance of the feet and your elbows pressing into the ground. Heart opening, shoulder blades squeezing together behind you. 1 more breath in and out. Then wiggle your toes forward and extend your arms up into the air. We're just making space so we can safely come back down to the ground. Take your time as you roll back down. Once you've made that contact, hug your knees into your chest. Rock gently left and right. Maybe a few circles, clockwise and counterclockwise. Again, just a little bit more release in the low back. Of course, this affects the hips. And then rocking forward and back.
With a good exhale, rock your way up to seated so we can come to boat pose. So we're here, nice and long in the spine at an angle. Tip your chin up a little bit, not too high, certainly not too low, but even with the rest of your spine. You can hold on to the legs. That's what's going to help you stay lifted with your extended back body. Flex your feet just to keep things active in the legs. Your shins might be parallel to the floor. Inhale, feel length in the spine. Breath rising, fill up your lungs. Exhale, pull belly button in towards spine to engage. 2 more times. Let's continue. Breathe in. Exhale, cross legs, hands in front or to the side to hop or step both of the feet back into plank pose. Strong straight line right here. Let's take a shortcut to down dog. Bend your knees, send hips into the air. Let's continue with a lunge sequence. Inhale, extend right leg up, reach back. Let's open this up. You're going to bend your knee, bring your heel down towards backside, lifting the knee up into the air. Lift, reach. Hands press a little bit more firmly into the ground. It creates a mild rotation in the spine, but it really opens the hips too, especially with the knee lifting up. It'll be mostly pointing perhaps towards the right side of the room. Even flex the right foot. Take a breath in. Exhale to unwind it and step the right foot to the top of the mat next to hand. Left heel turns to the floor, planted firmly into the ground. Again, find that balance between the feet. Extend your torso out over the thigh so it's straight and long. Inhale, hinge your way up, Warrior 1. Then exhale, turn your torso towards the left side of the room to open up into Warrior 2. Let's take the feet a little wider. You might creep the right foot forward 2 or 3 times forward and the same distance back. So a little bit more space between the feet. Make sure this right knee bends. Nice lunge here. With nice alignment, so your knee will be aligned over your heel or your ankle bone, not past, because that'll put too much pressure in the knee. Torso is straight up and down, arms extended. Warrior 2. Side angle, reaching forward as if you're trying to reach for something out in front of you with your right hand. Angled upper body. Rotate your arms. Right arm can come down, braced against the inner right thigh, while your left hand reaches into the air. Keep extending up and down. Even lunge a little deeper if that feels okay. Keep opening. The whole front side of the body is opening, and this is a nice hip opener. Let's breathe in, getting ready to move. Our exhale to turn towards the floor, bend, and plant the hands onto the ground. Let's step back into plank pose. Realign the body. And your shortcut to down dog. Bend knees, lift hips into the air. When you're ready, inhale to extend left leg up. First, it's a straight line. Then bend your knee, bring your heel towards backside, flex your foot. Lifting the knee up towards the ceiling, it'll point towards the left side of the room, but it's lifting into the air to create the hip opener. Pressing hands firmly into the floor, feel that extra energy in the upper body. You want to remain as stable as possible. You don't want to sink or collapse into your right shoulder as you're kind of twisting through the spine. Breathe in. Exhale to unwind, step your left foot to the top of the mat. Right heel turns to the floor, balanced. Extend torso over thigh. Inhale, hinge up, look forward, arms up. Exhale, turn your torso now towards the right side of the room, arms down to parallel, reaching out over the legs, Warrior 2. Same thing with the feet. Let's creep the left foot forward 2 or 3 times, not too far. Same with the back foot. Lunge. So a little deeper, tall through the torso, energized arms, reaching. You can keep your gaze forward out over your left hand. It's a nice neck stretch as well. Or just keep the neck neutral and just look towards the right side of the room. Side angle, let's follow the left arm forward to angle the upper body, then rotate the arms so the left arm is reaching down towards the floor, maybe even touching the ground or your stacked blocks if you'd like, or just keeping this left arm braced against the left inner thigh. Meanwhile, your right hand is reaching into the air. Here we go. Breathe in.
Our exhale, turning towards the floor, folding, bending, hands to the ground. Let's step back, plank, straight line. Shortcut to down dog. Bend your knees, hips into the air. We're going to return to standing, so with an exhale, walk, step, or hop both feet up to the top of the mat. Inhale to extend your spine. Exhale, fold. Inhale, reverse your swan dive, coming up. Reach high. Exhale, arms down by your side. Good. All right, let's go into a balancing sequence here. Just tree pose. I like tree for two reasons. One, yes, it's a good balancing posture, but it's also a great hip opener here too. Getting ready for our other poses. Pigeon pose and other deep lunges coming up. All right, so first finding balance on 2 feet. Nice and tall. You shake out those shoulders again. I'm going to try to mirror you here. So start shifting your weight over into right foot. Press foot down into the ground. As you inhale, feel tall and lengthen through the spine. Fill up your lungs. Then exhale, draw belly in. Abdominal lock. Start floating your left foot up, flexing the foot as it leaves the ground until your thigh comes parallel to the floor perhaps. And then here's the hip opener as the knee swings out towards the left side of the room. And then place the foot on the inside of your standing leg. Now you're welcome to place this foot on inner thigh. I tend to place mine at the calf level just below the knee. Or if you need a little extra balance and stability today, so your heel can be right above the ankle bone with your toes touching the floor. I'm going to go here. Then inhale, extend your arms out and up. They can go straight up like so. That kind of puts some binding in my shoulders, so I typically bring my arms out to a V shape. Or you can even bend elbows like this, just to soften the shoulders just a little bit. You still want to remain tall. Feel like you are still reaching into the sky through your arms, fingertips perhaps, even through the crown of your head. You want to feel your torso rising, which creates a little bit more space in the hips, which may allow this left knee to point more towards the left side of the room. Let's keep the arms extended. Let's swing the left knee forward. Lift the knee, and then plant the foot down into the floor. Arms can come back down by your side. Go ahead and roll the shoulders a few times because they can get a little tired, of course, as you extend them up into the air for that period of time. Back to mountain pose. I'm going to add on just a little bit more instruction here. This might help with balance a little bit, just in case you have a little struggle with balancing on one foot. Because sometimes we stand and we get really straight in the legs and sometimes even lock our knees. So let's start by softening the knees. Keep them soft, because that way it will help to engage the thigh muscles and your hamstrings rather than get locked out into your knee joints. With the knees slightly soft, start shifting weight into the left foot, really planted into the floor. You might feel the thigh muscle engage here. You really want that. Stay there like that. Feel tall, lengthen through spine. Inhale. Exhale, pull belly in. Start to peel the right foot up off the floor. Flex the foot once it leaves the floor, lifting so thigh is parallel to the ground. Start swinging the knee towards the right side of the room. Again, maybe placing foot on inner thigh, or just below the knee at calf level, or down where your toes touch the floor. I'm going to be here at calf level. Then inhale to reach the arms up, that lifting sensation. Keep that lifting. Feel everything lift in the torso. And then lock it with the exhale, draw belly in. I'm going to adjust my arms just a little bit. Slight bend, that feels nice. I'm gazing directly forward, but you can even just drop your eyes, not your head, just drop your eyes to look at the floor. Find something on the floor that you can focus on. That too can help you with balance. Let's keep the arms extended and swing the right knee forward, lifting the knee, pulling the foot away from the leg, then plant the foot into the floor, arms back down by your side. Shake out the shoulders, might want to pedal out the feet a little bit. Very good. Alrighty. Back to mountain pose, ready to continue our flow. When you're ready, inhale, extend the arms into the air. Exhale, at swan dive forward. Inhale, monkey pose, or an extended spine, flat back. Exhale, bend your knees, hands to the floor, walk or step, or jump back into plank pose. Come right down, chaturanga. Inhale, up dog. And exhale, downward facing dog. Let's inhale, extend right leg up. Bend and twist. Unwind, step through, right foot to the top of the mat. Left heel turns to the floor. Torso over thigh. Inhale, rise up, first warrior. We're just flowing. Exhale, opening to warrior two. Let's go ahead and take that wide stance, getting a little deeper, lunging a little deeper, tall torso, extended arms. Side angle, reach, maybe reach more, rotate the arms. While the right hand comes down, maybe touching the ground if you'd like. Let's take this left arm a little farther, perhaps reaching overhead at this angle. And you'll see you'll kind of draw this straight line from your fingertips all the way down through the side of your body, past your hip bone, right down to your foot. Let's breathe in. Exhale, turn. Bring hands to the floor. Step back, plank. Lower yourself, chaturanga. Flow up into your up dog, your back bend, and exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, extending left leg into the air. Quick bend and twist, heel to backside, lifting the knee. As you exhale, unwind it, step through, landing. Next to left hand, right heel plants down, balanced, torso over thigh. Inhale, rise up, reach up into the air, warrior one. Exhale, opening to warrior two. Feet wider, lunge deeper, outstretched arms. Follow left hand forward, side angle, reach out, rotate the arms, left hand reaching straight down, but maybe touching the blocks, while the right hand reaches up and be overhead, creating that angled sensation, but there's a straight line now from right set of fingertips down to your right foot. Then take a breath in, and your exhale will turn. Hands to the floor, step back, plank pose to realign. Finish your flow. Up dog. And downward facing dog. We'll take a little break here. Bring your knees to the floor. Take your knees wide out towards the edges of the mat. Maybe not that wide, but just a little wider than hip level. And then sit back, child's pose. Just a little rest. Feel free to bring in a block for your forehead, or maybe a towel or a blanket. If you want to rest your forehead on something. Your arms can even relax here if you'd like. And just like you did lying on your back preparing for bridge pose, just let everything settle. Just kind of sink and melt. And just return to the sensation of your breathing. We're preparing for a couple of deep lunges here. We're going to take our time with those postures and even hold those postures for some time to really help release any tight areas. Go ahead and take 2 more breaths. Coming out of child's pose, come up to hands and knees. Bring the knees in so the knees are directly underneath your hips. Let's hold here for cat and cow pose. So inhale, cow, where your heart looks forward, you look forward, tip the pelvis back, creating that little back bend feel. Exhale around the spine. Your belly button wants to pull up towards spine, chin wants to tuck in towards chest. Reverse it, inhale, tip the pelvis back, let the belly drop, arching the back, heart opens, look forward. Exhale, round it out. Maybe do that 2 or 3 more times at your own pace. Nice movement through the spine. Rocking the hips. Finish the breath that you're on and come to a neutral tabletop posture. Still on hands and knees. Just going to add one thing here. Now the legs are probably separated, but bring the left leg and just slide it over so it's touching the right. And then lean your left hip over towards the left side of the room. And a little massage here. I don't know if you can see me. I'm kind of shifting slowly forward and back, as if I was massaging kind of this outer hip area. At least that's what I feel. Because like I said, I tend to be tight in these areas, so I do feel this. So notice if this creates sensation for you. Okay, then come back up. Let's send both knees over towards the left a little bit. So the left knee might be kind of directly behind the left wrist. Right leg comes over to meet it. And then lean your right hip over to right side. This way you'll be a little bit more balanced. You can just hold that if that's what you need. Or that little rocking sensation. For me, it feels like a little massage. Just to get into that outer hip a little bit. And come back up. Separate the knees. You'll be in your tabletop position again. Step the hands forward just a little bit, just to get the wrists and hands out from underneath your shoulders here. Spread out your fingers. Tuck your toes. Round your spine like you're doing cat. So go ahead and exhale for that, cat. And then lift knees off the floor. Lift hips into the air. It's just a return to down dog. Now inhale, extend right leg straight up and back, straight line. Exhale, right foot to the top of the mat. Near right hand. Stay there. Just stay here in this lunge. You're going to bring the left knee down to the floor. Now, if you have a thinner mat, or if you happen to be on hardwood floor, just a solid ground, you may want to pad this left knee. Either fold your mat underneath that knee, or bring in a towel, even a pillow. Okay, now I've got a carpet and a thick mat, so I'm okay right here. I'm going to rise up to fingertips. They're still on the floor, but just on fingertips, so I've lifted my upper body a little bit, pulling back a little bit as well, so there's less weight or pressure in this right foot, which is going to allow me to actually slide or wiggle the right foot forward way out front. You can see I'm changing this angle here. It was at 90 degrees, but now it's way out front. And then over to the right side a little bit. And when it goes over to the side, have your toes kind of point out at an angle in that direction. If you've got your blocks, you probably only need one. At least I only need one right now. But bring it over to the left side. So from here, maybe step the hands forward and feel like you're going forward, leading with your heart, allowing the hips to sink right here. And that's what's going to create this deep lunge here on this right side. Hopefully, I need to adjust here. You want to make sure you have this right knee. Can you see this? This right knee is right over ankle, so you don't put any extra pressure on the knee, okay? So just keep moving that foot forward, maybe out to the side. Moving it to the side just creates a little bit more space in the inner thigh. And we're just going to hold here. Now I want you to pay attention to how deep you actually go. Deep is not necessarily better, okay? You just want to get to a place where, okay, I feel good here, I feel the stretch, things are happening. Just want to make sure that your body isn't overreacting or resisting, okay, this deep stretch. Some deep breaths, and even imagine or literally send your breath into the areas where you have the most sensation. I feel this a lot in my left upper quad and hip flexor and my inner thigh. So I'm imagining taking some deep breaths and sending it to those areas, making a little bit more space. Like I said, we're going to hold these postures a little longer. As you make more space, you have a choice. You can stay where you are or start to bend elbows and lower your body towards the floor. This is where your blocks can come in handy again. Maybe resting your arm or elbow on the blocks. Now this is pretty deep for me. I'm going to soften just a little bit so my body doesn't resist this deep stretch. So I feel good here. Deep breathing. Now you can stay static or not move, or you can create that massage effect, whatever feels natural here. Maybe just a little rocking feeling, just to get into the left hip flexor set of muscles and the right inner thigh. All right, so this is one of the deep lunges. We're going to get ready for another one in a moment. 3 more breaths here. Yep, we've been here a long time. All right, take your time. Move very slowly. You're deep and you're Your muscles are still quite lengthened here, so press hands into the floor to help lift out of that deep lunge. You're sending your hips up and back. Again, using the hands, kind of walk yourself back. Then just keep sending your hips back and down towards this left heel. This right leg will start to extend. Your hands can come on either side of you as you take kind of a seat back. You don't have to sit all the way down, because what we're going to do is send the right foot over towards the left side of the mat. So it's kind of in front of the left knee. Alrighty? Now we're moving into pigeon. So what's going to happen here is I walk forward with the hands, shifting. See how this knee will now come over towards right side, lower the leg down, and you'll be angled in that position for pigeon pose. Now, one of your blocks can be used for a little seat or bench on the right cheek over there. Then your upper body can lower. I'm kind of off my mat, but hopefully you guys can still see me. Again, pay attention to the sensations that are showing up in the body. The angle of the leg, adjust that if you need to. Checking in with your knee joint, even your ankle bones. Make those adjustments. If you feel like you're down too low, either upper body or your hips, adjust. It's okay to lift the hips a little higher. Settle in. Here's something you can do to go a little deeper as well. Use your left knee and toes, that's the leg extended out behind you, and try to crawl it back a little further, reaching to the back edge of your mat. And then just lift your head a little bit, even as if you think about looking forward. Just tip your head up a little bit, and then try to go forward. Now these are very subtle motions. You won't move quite so much, but it does deepen the sensation. Let's take 3 more breaths. So this is our pigeon pose. Once again, to get out of this deep lunge, take your time. Maybe you rise up slowly onto your hands. You don't have to lift very high. Just keep this angle. If you've got a block underneath you, I'm just going to move the block. Now we're just going to sit over to the right side, really getting out of that pose. Just sit over to the right. Both hands can come over to the right, really lean. So you can bring this left leg around to the front. Sit up tall, face forward. You may need to adjust yourself on your seat to come to cobbler's pose. So the soles of the feet touch right here, knees bent, out and opened. If you need a little extra support, just in case the knees don't touch the ground, and of course they don't have to touch the ground, just bring your blocks or pillows or books underneath the knees right there. Just go ahead and hold on to your ankles or shins. Sit up as tall as can be right here. We're going to hinge forward just a tiny bit, not very far, because we've already done some deep inner thigh work already. This does the same, but we're going to soften it up. So we're hinging forward, gets into those inner thighs, but we don't have to go very far. Really, we're coming to this pose just to rebalance the body, since we're only working one limb at a time, essentially. So a couple more breaths. Just think about finding balance in the body, nicely extended spine, gentle hip opener. From here, you're going to rise up until you're perpendicular to the floor. Still grow tall through the torso, but then start to lean back. I'm just moving my blocks out of the way. As you lean back, the legs will become light. Bring the knees together. Feet will become light. Let them float into the air with flexed feet. Hold on to the backs of the legs. Lift to extend spine. We've made a return to boat pose. A couple more breaths. Then we'll inhale, lengthen through the spine. Exhale, cross legs, hands in front. Hop or step back, plank pose. Strong straight line here. Hold this for a moment. Then finish the flow. Bend elbows, come down, chaturanga. Inhale, up dog.
Exhale, downward facing dog.
All right, that's our deep lunge sequence. Let's do the other side. Inhale, extend left leg straight up into the air behind you. Exhale, left foot to the top of the mat. Stay here in the lunge. We're going to bring the right knee down. Pat it if you need to. You can lengthen that back foot. Rise up to fingertips so you can lift a little to extend spine. Even pull back a little bit so there's less weight in this left foot. So we can start sending it forward, way out front. Being mindful that as we get deep in the lunge, we want to make sure we keep the left knee safe. And then off to the left side here, making more space in the inner leg. Have your blocks handy, ready to go. Get the hands on the inside of this left foot. Crawl forward, look forward, send your heart forward as the hips come forward and down. So a lot of forward motion. Pause before you get really deep into the pose. Just get to a place where it's like an introduction to the posture. It's like you're just telling your body, now we're going to go into this deep lunge on the other side. So let the body get used to it. Make some adjustments. Maybe this left foot. Be aware of this left knee. Some deep breaths. Start to send breath into the areas of the body where you have the most sensation. I'm doing a gentle rocking motion here. It's pretty subtle, but I can feel this. And I think I've made enough space where I can take my body a little lower. I'm going to use both blocks this time, just so I don't go down too low. So a bent arm resting on the blocks here. This feels just right, I think. I'm using the left hand to kind of lift myself up a little bit so I don't go too deep too fast. And then I can easily just kind of melt into this with each breath. Now, another thing to be aware of, even though I might be holding the pose for a long time, doesn't mean that you have to. I like to think that our bodies in particular postures have a time limit. And so once you feel like, okay, I think I've been here long enough, or the body's beginning to resist the pose, okay, then you may want to start to back out of the posture. It's okay to end the pose early. I'm going to do a little massage work here. I'm just doing a little movement, really getting into this right hip flexor, which feels a little tight today. All right, how about 3 more breaths? My body's really responding to this. Pay attention, listen, and respond appropriately to your body. When you're ready to move, take your time, move as slowly as can be, so it's not a shock to get out of the pose. Pressing hands into the floor, lifting up and away. Use the hands to help walk yourself back, so your hips are going back, maybe down a bit towards right heel as the left leg begins to extend. Not fully. This left hand is just going to come onto the outside of that left leg, so I'm a little bit more balanced here. And then move the left foot from the left side over towards right side. There. Okay, with a slight bend in the knee, that might help. And then crawl forward. This left knee will come down towards left side of the mat here. Angled leg for your pigeon. Take your time, make any adjustments. You might have to kind of settle in and make some proper adjustments by moving and settling once you get into the pose. This is certainly a different way to get into pigeon pose. I'm using a block back here on my left cheek so my hips stay even. There we go. And I'm going to start to lower. The higher you are like this, the more of a back bend you create. That's also fine because that's just another version of pigeon pose. But for the little bit more relaxed state of body, especially in the back, you can lower your way down. Maybe low enough until your forehead reaches the floor. Now I'm not down that low, so I'm actually taking my block, turning it up on a side, so I have a nice tall block resting my forehead on it. Ooh, I can really feel this nicely in my outer left hip, mostly in the glute area, Left inner thigh is getting a little bit of release. I'm going to crawl right leg back a little bit using knee and toes to get a little bit more on the right hip flexor. And to add a little bit more sensation, just a lift of the head and try to go forward. Again, that's a very subtle motion. You don't have to pull or force that at all. It's just the sensation of lifting and going forward. Some deep breaths here. Wow, it feels like I could stay here for a long time. I think my legs and hips really need this. What's nice about a yoga practice is that you don't always have to go through these sequences and moving and all the poses. Maybe you just have a couple of poses that you like or need to do for any tightness or tension or relief. Just go to those poses, and that can be your yoga practice for the day. Okay, we've been here a long time. 2 more breaths. Then, slowly as can be, starting to lift up and away from the pose. Take your time so as not to shock the body. Moving the blocks out of the way here. Shift your weight over to left hip to sit. That will get you out of that posture, essentially. Lean more over to the left side with both hands and swing this right leg around to the front. It's going to be a big shift and change in sensation of that back leg. And then come to cobbler's pose. Bound angle is the proper English name. Bring the soles of the feet together. Hold on to ankles or shins to sit up nice and tall. You can tuck something underneath the knees for extra stability, but do sit up tall. Hinge forward a tiny bit. Again, not very far because we've already done the inner thigh work and release. This is just for realigning the body mostly. All right, got a couple of bonus poses for us. From here, let's rise back up, re-extending the spine. And then start to lean back with that same straight spine. Legs become light, bring the knees together. Feet become light, let them float into the air, flex your feet. You can hold on, lift to extend spine, lift the chin slightly. You can even release the legs, extend your hands out front. Here we go, breathe in. Exhale, cross legs, hands in front. Hop or step back into plank pose. Soft knees, hips into the air, down dog this time. Hold for a few breaths there. And take a quick little break. Bring your knees to the floor, and if you're able, sit back into hero pose. Hero. And if you can stay here, because I'm going to demonstrate a couple things, and it might take a little bit. So if this becomes uncomfortable for your knees or ankles, you can come out of this pose and just take a regular seat, get a sip of water. All right, we're going to do a transition. We're going to come into down dog, and I'll show you this. I'm going to demonstrate it. We're going to hop forward into a yogi squat, and then take that pose into a modified crow pose. So you might want to have some blocks here. So one block maybe by your side, that you can use to sit on in your squat if you need it, and then one up by your head for crow if you need it. Okay, so I'm gonna put that there. So just watch. I'm coming to downward facing dog. I'm just gonna do this and explain it. So I'm going to inhale, fill up the lungs, exhale, hop forward, landing with the feet wide, toes turned out, knees bent, allowing my hips to drop right down low. If you need balance or need something to sit on, this is where the block can come in handy. I'm going to use that for a moment here. Okay? And then nice and tall in the spine, because we end up being rounded sometimes here. Okay? Legs nice and wide. The wider they are, you might be able to get the feet fully planted onto the ground. If they're a little closer, you might end up on your tiptoes. Both are fine. All right, the arms or elbows are just pushing gently into the legs to open them up like you're sending the knees back behind you. Just press, use that as leverage to help extend spine. Right here, you'll be at a slight angle. Hands will be at heart center. We'll hold here for several breaths, okay?
But let me just show you how we'll get into crow pose. So we'll release, bring the hands down in front, way out in front. See how there's a nice angle here? Not straight up and down, but an angle. Rise up off the block, up onto your tiptoes, lift the heels. Look at your block in front, tip head down. And even, I'm going to bring, well, let's see. Tip head down, hips lift. Now the feet can stay on the floor for this version of crow if you want, okay? Or the head can come all the way down to the block to lift the feet. So the legs are resting heavily on the bent arms. I call it a tipping of the scale because this was your head and hips. Basically you're just tipping it so your head is down, hips are up. Okay, let's try that. So let's get our blocks set up. So if you're in hero or seated, let's come up to hands and knees. Maybe a block by your side if you need it, or block or two up front for your head, just in case you need a little support for your balancing, arm balancing posture, crow. Okay, downward facing dog. Together, we're going to exhale, hop forward, land with feet wide, toes turned out, knees bent. Take feet wide so the heels can come to the ground, or just rise up onto tiptoes. Let your hips drop. Sit on the block if you need to. If your back is rounded, what you'll do is you brace your arms, hopefully your triceps against inner knees here. Press against them like you're pushing the legs away to help extend spine. Just sit up tall. Hands to heart center. Let's hold this for several breaths. It's another deep lunge. We'll just call it yogi squat. This is actually a preparatory pose for another binding position, actually, called garland pose. Garland, like a ribbon. Okay, basically your arms would wrap around your bent legs here. Okay, a couple more breaths. And we'll get set up for our crow pose. So open the palms so they're facing forward. Bring the hands to the floor out in front so there's an angled arm here. Lean into the hands. Let the elbows bend a lot so that the legs will just lean heavily against the bent arms. Now this could be the end of the pose. Just this is fine. Or lift your heels, rise up onto tiptoes, keep spine long, look at your block. Start to tip the head down, hips lift. That can be the end as well. Kind of feels more like a frog. But if you want, you can just tip, let the head land on the floor or your block here. Let the bent legs rest on bent arms, lifting the feet off the ground. And we'll use that as our variation of crow. Then we'll set the feet back down or toes. To get out of this pose, just lift the hips. Just get the legs off the arms and just step the feet back into plank pose. Draw a straight line. Plank, then chaturanga. We're finished. Inhale, up dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Very nice. We're going to take a seat and then lie down. Inhale. Exhale, hop forward, cross legs, take a seat, or just kneel down to take a seat in the center of your mat. Go ahead and roll down onto your back. Same thing, we're just going to rest for a moment, flat back, knees bent, feet on the ground. Melt into the floor. Let the hips relax, because they did a lot of stretching. And then you had to really engage that area for that last balancing posture, crow. Let's hug both knees into chest, and maybe that same little rocking sensation, maybe left and right, some circles, both directions, and even forward and back. Whatever feels good for that massage for the hips and low back area. Then we'll take happy baby pose, another hip opener. We'll take the knees wide, send feet up towards the ceiling, grab hold of the bottoms of the feet if you can reach them, or just hold onto your ankles or shins. Gently press down, not too much. Knees towards the floor, the soles of the feet are facing the ceiling. Really not too different from our yogi squat. Okay, a nice neat deep knee bend. It gets into the inner thighs. 3 more breaths. We'll do 1 more hip opener, then a twist, and then final relaxation.
Let's bring the soles of the feet together. Set the feet onto the ground. Let the knees fall open naturally for reclining cobbler's pose. If your blocks are handy, maybe place those blocks or books, or maybe they're just small pillows, underneath the knees. Ooh, yes, they can just really let that relax. As you hold in stillness, you can keep your eyes opened or close your eyes, but pay attention to your breathing. Now, we didn't move very quickly, so you may not be out of breath, but just pay attention to the pace of your breathing and maybe begin to slow it down just a little bit more. 2 more breaths if you'd like. Stay here longer if you'd like as well. We're going to take our twist whenever you're ready to do so. You'll bring the knees up and together, hug the knees in towards chest, and then send knees over to left side of the room. Now, if you happen to have a prop over there, you can just let the leg rest on that prop. While knees are over at the left side, right arm extends to the right side. Reach. A gentle reach. And again, we're creating a little bit of that twist sensation like we did earlier in our windshield wiper legs. You can do that same pose again. If that felt good, do the windshield wiper legs. Do that again if you want. Or just do this more classic way, I guess, of a spinal twist. We'll take another full breath in and out on this side. Coming back up to center. A little hug, pause for realignment. And the knees to the right. Let them land on the block or the floor. Left arm extends to the left. Twist. And breathe. When you feel complete, just take 2 more breaths. You'll return to center. Pause for alignment. Then extend the legs straight out in front of you onto the floor for Shavasana. We only have a few minutes left in our hour-long class, but you're welcome to stay here beyond that hour if you'd like. Fully relaxed, closing your eyes, and taking your meditative journey inside. Stay here as long as you need to, even as I end the practice. When you're ready to move, take 3 more deep breaths. Take your time. Feeling movement return to your body. And again, you're welcome to stay here longer in stillness before you do move. As movement returns, slowly and carefully roll onto one side of your body. Just moving into a nurturing pose. Carefully rise to seated. Sitting nice and tall with the lengthened spine. Perhaps with legs crossed. Shoulders relaxed, arms relaxed down by your side.
Together, inhale, extend your arms into the sky. As you exhale, bring your palms together and down to your heart. Hold in stillness, take one more breath in and out. And as we come to the close of our practice, together we bow, saying Namaste.